Good afternoon. My name is Reni. I'm a pagan from the beautiful country of Holland. And tonight I want to discuss something very important. I want to discuss a book that every pagan should probably read because it's insanely important. No, it's not the Prose Edda. No, it's not the Poetic Edda. No, it's not When Garden Gnomes Attack, which is a handy book to have because you never know when they might come. It is The Darkening Age by Catherine Nixy. Let me show you it here. Now, let me tell you why this is so important. First off, why it's important for all pagans. Sometimes we forget that paganism isn't just Germanic paganism or Nordic paganism. Paganism is like this big umbrella. Maybe you feel in your heart the Egyptian gods. Maybe you have in your blood the Greek gods. That's also possible. I believe even native peoples like the Sami and the tribes of the Plains Indians, in South America, the tribes, and even the Hindus in India, they consider all those people pagans. And for all those people, this book is insanely important because it combats history. It not just combats historical perception, but it battles historical perceptions, and it comes out on top. It wins. And everybody likes a winner, especially if it's an underdog. Well, first, let's do a little exercise. It's for the benefit of the book review. Don't worry. If you were to close your eyes right now, and I were to tell you to visualize a pagan, a heathen, in pre-Christian Europe, what would you see? You'd probably get an image of some guy in a forest in Germany, half covered in mud, with an axe. But there's always, to a lesser or a more degree, there's some simplistic, barbaric aspects. And maybe even that's why some people gravitate towards paganism, is because, well, it's very simplistic, and we live in a world nowadays with far too many rules and things we must and mustn't do. So this kind of has this romantic thing where we can just break free of all rules. But what if I were to tell you that that image that you have of pre-Christian paganism is not only wrong, but was planted there by Christianity? That's exactly what this book says. And it's not just a book where the author kind of like tells you like, oh, this is just my opinion. No, these are academic facts that she helps bring to the surface. Also nice to mention, this book was recommended to me by Thomas Sheridan. I've been following him a long time on social media. He's a very creative and wonderful man, and he's mentioned this book a dozen times, and about the 12th time that he mentioned it, I was like, probably should order this. I did, and it doesn't disappoint. Now, most people in the West, they kind of believe that, before Christianity, everything was just a bit dark. And a lot of Christians believe that, Christianity enlightened the world and made the world a better place. There are also some people who believed, yeah, the world became a better place, but, regardless of Christianity, we wouldn't have gotten there. We would have gotten there. And that's a very reasonable standpoint. But they're both wrong. The classical world, before the introduction of Christianity, was very well developed, very intelligent, and was well ahead of its time. This book is littered with examples, and let me give you just a few, just to lift the veil a little bit. In the 1st century, there was a doctor named Galen, and he traveled the classical world where he did demonstrations on animals. And he showed everybody that certain parts of the spinal column relate to certain parts of the body. He could demonstrate that certain parts of the brain power certain parts of the body. After Christianity came, so many books were burned, so many temples were demolished. We lost that knowledge. It took us until the 16th century to figure out which part of the spinal column go to which part of the body. It took us until the 19th century until we figured out which part of the brain corresponds with which part of the body. So we were just figuring this out 200-300 years ago, while like 2000, like 1800 years ago, the pagans already knew this. Not convinced yet? I'll give you another example. There's a man called Democritus, and he had a theory. The theory was that everything in life consists of tiny unsplittable atoms which revolve around each other. He called this the nuclear theory. He also lived in the 1st century after the birth of Christ. So that's like 1900 years ago. This man, besides his nuclear theory, had about 16 other books published which were chock-a-block full of mind-blowing theories. Well, I don't know if they were mind-blowing, to be honest, because nobody knows, because all these books were burnt. They were burnt by Christians because they were of a pagan author. Christians are all often attributed to preserving pagan texts and classical texts, and they did do that. But it's estimated that 90% of all the books from the Library of Alexandria to all the great libraries that were in separate temples across Italy and Greece, 90% of those books were burned. Now the funny thing is about this guy Democritus, who had the nuclear theory, it was also copied by a Christian monk, at least one of his books. We lost the other 16, like I said, and they were kind of like stuffed away in some library. And around the 16th century, these books were rediscovered. Now the funny thing is, those ideas, like from the Dr. Galen and from Democritus, those two examples that I gave you, they weren't like really a big deal in the pagan classical world. And I'll tell you why. Because there were lots of people like them who had really good ideas and were demonstrating these ideas. There was literally this literal marketplace of ideas in town squares where people discuss life, philosophy, music, and the meaning of life. These were discussed in squares and in temples. So in the old pagan classical world, they were good. But when they were rediscovered in the 16th century, after centuries of suppression of our ability to think for ourselves and to just have faith, these ideas were truly revolutionary. And these ideas inspired many, many people, many, many influential people, like Albert Einstein. So just by these two examples, we've lost a lot. The idea that we have that like things were dark and Christianity made everything light. History is written by the victors. Things were light and they were made dark by Christianity. So this book goes on and on about architectural marvels in the ancient classical worlds which were all destroyed. They talk about these old saints, and these saints, well, they were saints when it came to Christianity, but they were very violent, and they had like groups of thugs with hammers, which they could send after everybody who they deemed impure. So if you read this, it truly gives you an idea of how wonderful paganism is, and how supportive and how natural paganism is, how supportive it is to the human condition, and how easy it is to flourish. if you're not succumb to one of the sand gods. Now, for the record, I'm not. If there's any Christians watching, I'm not bashing you personally. I know lots of Christians who are really lovely people with their heart in the right place, but history didn't exactly go as most people think it went. Okay, so you want to feel good about being a pagan? The Darkening Age. Get it. I'll probably do a link where you can buy this in the description. I'm not getting paid any of this. I'm just speaking from the heart. I want to take the second part of the video to discuss a little something that was in here that quite interested me. They believe that the ancient city of Rome prospered because of what they called the Pax Deorum. Now, you might have heard of Pax Romana, but a lot of people haven't heard of Pax Deorum. Pax Deorum basically translates to peace with the gods. It was the commonly held belief that Rome prospered because it honored the old gods. It sacrificed, it prayed, and it honored the old gods. And because of that, Rome had the favor of the gods. And that's why it was so great. And I started thinking about this, and the first thing I thought, well, Rome really didn't turn Christian and turn really violent against people who weren't Christian until like the 3rd century. And like the fall of Rome really started around the 5th century, but earlier there were, I believe, some like the sacking of Rome by the Goths, and like these were very close by the 3rd century. So after the conversion to Christianity, Rome didn't survive. Well, it survived like for 200 years, but it didn't survive like really, really long. So you could make the argument that what destroyed Rome was the fact that the old gods were no longer being honored. What destroyed Rome was its conversion to this cult from the Middle East. And why that matters is, well, when Rome fell, it took over 1,000 years for a city of the same size to appear on the European continent. You don't understand how big the fall of Rome was. This was the fall of a civilization, and it was the fall of an empire. And it could have something to do with the Pax Deorum, with the fact that the gods are no longer being honored. But when I think about that and I kind of extrapolate that and put that into the future, like, you see that you have like people coming together in America and in Europe, and they're doing their best. They're doing their best to honor the old gods. What if like these groups of people on this land, what if they gain the favor of the gods once more? What if we simply let go of every limitation that was fertilized by Christian thinking in our own minds? What could we truly achieve? If we already know about the existence of atoms in the 1st century, what can we achieve now? These are interesting thoughts, and they are hopeful thoughts, and I hope to see some of those results in my lifetime. Thank you for watching. Like I said, Catherine Nixy, The Darkening Age. Couldn't recommend it more. Oh, thanks for watching until the end. I'm gonna go get the names of the giveaway because I'm announce the winners in a minute. Okay, I'll be back. So, I'm back. I keep forgetting to do this, but I actually had a 1,000 subscriber giveaway with lots of you participated in, and thank you for supporting the channel. It's much appreciated. You could win like a Mjolnir, and you could win some t-shirts by Dutch Pagans. Everybody who responded and who shared the video, I've put a name on a piece of paper. I've made a propje of it, and I put them all here inside. So I'll get the winners now. first winner of a Dutch Pagans t-shirt is... I've never done this. Greet van Dijk. Now that's a Dutch name if I ever heard one. She's actually named after a dike, which is a lesbian in English, so it doesn't translate well. Okay, Margreet van Dijk, give me a message on Instagram, just tell me your size and I'll send you a t-shirt. Second one is also a t-shirt. Wes Kebab. I'm really trying my best not to make fun of names here. Hey, my name's Reni, so what do I know? Wes Kebab, you've won a t-shirt. Just send me a message on Instagram with your size and your address and I'll send it to you. Now, the final one. Drum roll, please. You get a t-shirt and you get the Mjolnir that I showed you in the video. And because you get the Mjolnir, special energy. Ooh. Bethany Loveday. Your name sounds lovely. Please contact me on Instagram, send me a message and give me the address and the size of the t-shirt. You get a t-shirt and you get the Mjolnir. Okay. Thanks for watching. I see you all beautiful people next week.